Earlier we had seen the entropy of mixing, which was delta S is equal to minus NR in brackets here, XA log XA plus XB log XB, right? And now I want to change this over to delta G of mixing. The change in the gives free energy. And since these are ideal gases, these gases do not interact at all, so their internal energy does not change, their enthalpy does not change. So delta H of mixing is, yeah, that's also mix, is 0. So delta G mixing then comes out to be, or actually you can also do a same kind of construction that we did for delta S mixing and find out delta G mixing. Comes out to be nRT XA log XA plus XB log XB, right? Now it so seems that the delta G of mixing is lower as compared to, so the G of mixing, not delta G, the gives free energy of mixing of mixed substances is lower than pure substances. Okay, there is one small note that I have added to the previous lecture, previous handout. The equilibrium of mixtures, the name of the handout is there. I have added chemical potential in a pure component, ideal gases, and shown that, let me just write that down over here in some different colors so that we don't mix up with this topic. Mu A of mixture at temperature at P is less than mu A, or rather I'll put the equality sign. So P total, right, is equal to mu A pure at the same temperature, at the same pressure, plus RT log of XA. So the construct that I have shown over here is this one, where I have a mixture of A and B with partial pressures PA prime, PB prime, and total pressure is the sum of that. And here I have pure A with pressure PA, and these are ideal gases. Okay, and this particular membrane is selectively permeable to A only. Okay, and so from there, so I'll just skip this. From there, also it's a very beautiful proof, but anyway. So from there, what we've got is that the chemical potential of A in the mixture is always less than the chemical potential of A in the pure form, because this is a negative number. XA is a mole fraction, right? So which means that, think of this permeable membrane, and the molecules of A will be hitting on this side, and the molecules of A will be hitting from the left side, from both the sides, right? And now when they are hitting from both the sides, at the point where the chemical potential of, so when these things are in equilibrium, then the chemical potential of one component should be equal through all the phases, through everywhere. So the chemical potential of A in the left region should be equal to the chemical potential of A in the right region. Now if you think of it, then Pa is the pressure exerted by these molecules that are impinging on the membrane. Yes? So if it is in equilibrium, then the pressure exerted from here should be equal to the pressure exerted from here. And since the chemical potential of pure A is much higher, so more A would like to go towards the mixture. Yes? So as to reduce the chemical potential. So at the equilibrium, the chemical potentials must be equal. This is for P total, this is for P total. but P total is the sum of this. So it is not the equilibrium chemical potential. So what would happen is that the membrane would get deformed and be pushed on that side, right? On this side, sorry. A goes from here to here, right? So membrane will be pushed over here, kind of space or something like that. So always, like we've seen in the case of delta G of two ideal gases that are mixed together, the Gibbs free energy of these two ideal gases that are mixed together is much lower than their pure components. And the way I could represent that, and let me go back to the color now. So if I plot component A, so my reaction is going from A to B. Now remember, this sign is must. Okay, we are dealing with equilibrium thermodynamics. Okay, so this sign is a must. If this is not there, then things change a lot. Yesterday, or in Friday's class, somebody brought me an example of ammonium chloride going to ammonia plus HCl. Who was that somebody? Okay, never mind. It's a classic example given everywhere. But what he did was to put just one arrow, just the forward arrow. And then he was asking me what is the number of components over here. If it's only a forward arrow, in case of ammonium chloride decomposing to ammonia plus HCl, then it's not an equilibrium. In that case, I definitely need to specify two components. But actually, the case is not that. Whenever ammonium chloride decomposes, it decomposes reversibly. And if it decomposes reversibly, I know from the equilibrium constant what is the amount of ammonium. HCl is also the same if I know the amount of ammonium chloride. So it's just a single component system when it is in equilibrium. Okay, so be very careful that you must make an equilibrium sign and not just one single-sided arrow. So A goes to B, and let's say this is my mole fraction of B from 0 to 1. So mole fraction of A would be in that direction, no problem. That's my Gibbs free energy. If I look at the equation, XA log XA plus XB log XB, that's a negative number, and the delta G was plus nRT. So at a given temperature and pressure is what we measure the Gibbs free energy. So at a given temperature and pressure, my Gibbs free energy of the pure component would be somewhere over there. But since XA log XA, so remember the Gibbs free energy is independent of gases because it's an ideal gas. It's not, otherwise it's not independent, but since it's an ideal gas, it's independent. And XA log XA plus XB log XB, the minimum would be at 0.5, and you get some curve like that. It's going down, right? Delta G is negative when the gases mix. Now, if I think of a reaction that is occurring, so reaction going from A to B, okay, so I could say that this is some epsilon, which is the extent of reaction, yeah? And the Gibbs free energy of A is somewhere over there. The Gibbs free energy of B is somewhere over there. Now, I am taking one liberty over here, and though these are ideal gases, the treatment I am giving is that of an ideal gas. I take two different Gibbs free energies. Okay, fine. So that to show that the Gibbs free energy changes only then It has to be a spontaneous process. So now if we think of the extent of reaction, it should just go like this. But now that we also know that there is a delta G of mixing, and I add that on to this one, then what I get is something like this. And you can well imagine that this would depend on the difference in these Gibbs-free energies. If the difference is 0, this should be at 0.5. If this is much lower, this should be closer. So, and also it tells you spontaneously I cannot get anything in its pure form. Yes, because the mixed form is entropically more favored. And that is what this curve shows me. You know, I will always come somewhere here. This would be the lowest Gibbs-free energy, the minimum of this curve. So I will always have